Howdy gamers, Old Gamer Guy here. Welcome to another Stellaris Console Edition video. It is the year 2432 and the war in heaven is underway. I was going to try and get the entire war into one video, but it didn't work out that way. I just have way too much footage. So this will be just the first part of the war. The Bavi were a fallen empire. They awakened and they have been grabbing a little bit of space near them. And not long after the Bavi awakened, the Amari directors awakened, and as luck would have it, they and the Bavi are ancient enemies. So they declared war on each other, and I took the side of the Amari, which fractured my federation. The Serene Cannabinoids also took the side of the Amari, while the Kelzen decided to stay neutral. So, because our Federation doesn't exist anymore, I am no longer in charge of the Federation fleets, and I have this one fleet down here in Kelzen space, and I'm going to move them back up into our space in the Brocken system, where I have been fortifying this citadel for quite some time. So we'll move this fleet here, and then there's another small fleet that I think was patrolling for pirates, but then when the war broke out, I decided to move them down where all of our other ships were, but now I'm going to also move them to the Brocken system. I decided to make a quick deal with the Kelzen, and I offered to exchange active sensor links with them, and I also gave them just a few energy credits, but they accepted the deal, so now I can keep track of what the Bavi are doing. The Kelzen and the Cloud have entered a defensive pact, and the Derp Coalition and the Amari have opened their borders to us. But not all of the younger races chose to join with either side in the war raging between the precursor empires. And then it says, some like ourselves have remained neutral, but we actually chose a side, so that's wrong. But the ones who did choose to stay neutral, and I think that is only the Kelzen and the Cloud, they are facing the prospect of facing the precursor menace alone if the war should come their way. A league of non-aligned powers has been formed with the explicit goal of opposing both sides in the war, which doesn't sound very smart to me, but apparently the game itself thinks that this is a bold move. So maybe it's a bold move, maybe it's not, but in the definitely stupid move category, I realized that I had kind of left off in my fortification of certain space stations. Some of them only have 2 empty slots in the building category like this one, but some of the other ones have modules that are unused also, and so it might be too late at this point to actually do this, but I'm going to go ahead and start getting these space stations upgraded. They are all in this little blob of space that we have up here in the upper part of the map. I'm not really planning on spending too much effort defending this area, so I'm just trying to build up my space stations as much as I can, and hopefully they will do some good. You can see this one had several empty slots, and I was trying to remind myself how I had the other one set up. I'm kind of setting them all up the same. I don't know if this configuration is good or not. I'm just kind of winging it like I always do with this game. As you can tell, after all this time playing this game, there are still things that surprise me and still things that I don't know about. So I'm adding some modules and some buildings to several space stations up in this part of our space.
Planetary settlement procedure initiated.
And we're also settling some planets here and there, but Meanwhile, my ship is approaching, or my fleet is approaching the wormhole. This is the wormhole that's down in Kelzin space. And the other side of the wormhole is way up here in our space.
Planetary settlement procedure initiated.
And so they are continuing along and heading back toward home space. Disturbingly, there is already an enemy fleet near our borders, and this is either the Bavi or the Sacred Ciriland, because they have allied together. But it appears to be the Bavi, and quite a strong fleet it is, and they are heading for our space, unfortunately.
Alert, station engage.
And there they go. They are attacking the very space station where my fleets are headed. And even after all that fortification, it does not take long for them to take over my space station. But look at this. The Imari are counterattacking with 2 fleets. And they are winning, but of course my scientists chose this moment to give us a report. There's some debris in the orbital space around Gahur Prime, and it appears that the debris was left behind by an alien civilization that once inhabited the planet before they wiped themselves out. Their early space programs saw the launch of thousands of primitive satellites and missile launch platforms. Many of these were destroyed by anti-satellite weapons during the planet's destructive nuclear war, adding even more space junk to the mix. Our colony on the surface has developed to a point where this dense field of debris is interfering with its infrastructure. We cannot use satellites, and civilian orbital flights are limited to narrow launch windows. Perhaps something should be done. We've got a negative effect for this debris, but right now, quite honestly, we kind of have bigger fish to fry, so I'm not going to do anything about this right now.
Situation log adjusted. Diplomatic alert. Military confrontation detected.
I enjoy watching the Imari kick some ass, but look at this. We've got some big news here. The League of Non-Aligned Powers has declared war on our ally, the Imari Directors. So now we are at war also with the Kelzin and the Cloud. I believe they are the only
stationary asset engaged.
I believe they are the only empires in the non-aligned powers federation. And I think we are directly at war with only the Bavi and the Sacred Ciriland. So everybody else is backing us up. We're on the team that has the most empires in it. So that's good. And so since we're now at war with the Cloud, we are passing through their space, and now suddenly it is hostile space. So now we're taking over a little bit of their space. So it serves them right. We're going to be passing through and taking some of their space now. When, as it was before, we just would have been passing through. But the Bavi are over here in this system that has the wormhole in it that we went through earlier. The Bavi have traveled through that very same wormhole, I think. And they are now taking over that system. So that's unfortunate. Suddenly I realized, oh no, we are now at war with our former allies, the Kelzin, and we have a border with them, so we need to do something about defense down here. And I really haven't been doing anything down here, so I'm basically starting from scratch and upgrading this space station. Hopefully it's not too late.
Construction complete.
Meanwhile, the war goes on. This is a Sacred Ciriland fleet approaching one of our systems.
Construction complete.
This system is not particularly well defended, so they are going to take this over. We were friendly with the Ceralan for most of the game, but now suddenly they have allied. They have allied with the Bavi. But finally, our large fleet arrived back in Brocken. So now I was going to merge these two fleets, but then, and also expand them. But as it turned out, I still ended up with two fleets and just made both of them a little bit larger. So we are going to repair and add more ships for a little while here in this system. And so now I have kind of three choices in what I could do here. I could go up this way and try to take back this system with the wormhole in it, but this looks like quite a dangerous space station the Bavi have here in this system now. I could take my fleets and fly them back across our space to the Vural system, where there is a wormhole, and through this wormhole we could travel across the galaxy over into space that at the moment here it is controlled by the cloud, but it could change hands at any time really. And then my third option is to basically cut across the space that is owned by the cloud. This will not directly help us in our fight against the Bavi, but it will help us in our fight against the non-allied empires, and I'll end up right here where I could go into Ceralan space. And so I think that is what I'm going to do. It seems like the path of least resistance, and also it'll do some good in our fight against that other federation, because now we're technically in two wars at this point. Our 10-year deals with the curators and I don't even remember what the other guys are called. The curators and the artisans, that's right. Our 10-year deal ran out, and so I renewed both of those deals. And so now we are going to begin
Construction complete.
our trek across the space of the cloud. And this is just a series of battles with space stations. So let's just sit back and watch this for a little while, I guess. We are taking a little bit of space back for the High Kingdom here. The High Kingdom is a kind of a splinter empire that formed within the cloud. And as we're moving along here through the center, of the cloud. We are taking some space for the High Kingdom.
Alert. Hostile fleet assets detected.
The Bavi are also making moves within our space and still taking out our fortified citadels with relative ease. So that's unfortunate. And right at this moment, we are losing this war in terms of war exhaustion. But we will start to gain ground in that regard, and by the end of the video we will be winning the war, at least by a little bit, as we continue on through the space owned by the cloud. They were once our friends, and then they chose not to take sides in the war in heaven, I guess, or the war against the Bavi anyway. They chose not to join one of the awakened empires, and then they became our enemy when they joined with the Kelzen. But look at this, another interesting find by our scientists. It can only be described as a dimensional portal. It's been discovered on one of our planets. Weather prediction algorithms noticed a strange air current, which was eventually determined to be caused by the slight leakage of atmosphere into the portal. The rate of loss is far too small for it to make any difference to life on the planet, but the very existence of this portal raises some disturbing questions, such as where does it lead to, and could something come through the portal from the other side? This is very intriguing, and I am going to do something about this special project, and I'll have to see about sending one of our science ships to investigate this strange portal. We will continue to push through the space owned by the cloud, and we will spray deodorant as we go because they are a smelly people. Normally quite friendly, and they've been friendly to us through most of the game, but they do smell bad, and so they are considered to be repugnant by other races. Here it appears we have finally pushed into space owned by the Bavi. So that's good. This should directly help us in our war. Another one of our trade deals has expired. We are importing exotic gases, and I always renew this deal with the cheapest option.
Project complete.
So we won the battle and we got a good deal right there, so good times. But never mind that. Part of our special project has been completed, and strangely, the dimensional portal on Siliv Prime appears to connect to a planet which looks very much like Siliv Prime. And stranger still, when we make contact, it appears that we are talking to ourselves, and so we have apparently discovered an alternate universe, a doorway to an alternate universe, and we are now speaking to the alternate universe version of the PlayStation Network. So that's exciting. This is an exciting day in PlayStation Network history. We're trying to have a conversation with them. It seems to be going relatively well. They're not being hostile to us anyway. But they are talking about warp beasts. Apparently they're having problems with creatures called warp beasts. And so eventually we will offer to help them. Right here we are asking if they require any material support. And since they are alternate universe versions of ourselves and they are being relatively friendly, we will offer them material support against the warp beasts. So there you go, a very exciting day in our history. But we're at war, so let's get back to the war, and we are pushing further into enemy space. It looks like the Bavi took over this system, but then the Cloud have a planet colonized, and the Cyrilan were bombarding that planet, but now we took care of that bombardment. And now we are officially pushing into space controlled by the Sacred Cyrilan, so this will directly help us in our war with the Bavi. So this seems like a decent place to stop this video. I really wanted to have the whole war in one video, but I'm ending up with way too much footage to do that. So this is a good place to stop. There is one more thing I'm going to show you before I end the video. There was a strange noise right there, and I'll show you what that noise was, and then we'll end the video there. That was a gateway being completed by the Imari directors, and so they're going to complete a few more gateways, I think, here as the war goes along. But let's stop the video right here. The war is going well for us. I think we're winning at this point. We'll pick it up here next time. As always, thanks for watching.